and welcome back for another Monday Motivation. It's been 2 weeks off, and I'm just so grateful to be able to get back into this and start our week together on a positive note. And so I'm joined by Jen McNally, VSU 5, and Brandy Buscher of North Platte Public Schools, and Jamie Mapp of ESU 5 as well, that works with Jen there, a colleague of hers. And so we're just really looking forward to kicking off the week with you and having the opportunity to share a quote and some things to maybe lean into over the duration of the week. And so really grateful to everybody that's joining us today, whether you're online or in our chat window here. We're going to really just lean into one another and support one another as we get our week started. So Jen, I'm going to let you do kind of the official introduction for Brandy here, since you know her so well. And so, yeah, if you would help us get to know her a little bit more.
Well, I am excited to announce one of my very dear friends, somebody look up to the most in education. Did somebody knock on the door?
That was my drum roll. I did like a little drum roll. He's like, I was excited to announce, and I was like, I'm getting into this then. Okay.
Well, there's a lot that I can say, but I really want to start out with a video that I want to thank Brittany at I Love Public Schools, who made this for us to show today. And because we also have the upcoming third film through I Love Public Schools with Sally and our team, and it will highlight, and I know I will cry through it a million times over, Brandy, because of who she is and the team of educators at North Platte Public Schools. But the next film coming out next week is highlighting Brandy's work. So let's show this short clip, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about her.
All right, and here it is.
Hi, we're here at the high school, and she's reporting drug use in the home. She's reporting no food. It's so hard to watch kids fall through the cracks and watch kids that don't make it. And I don't. I just want a kid to come to school and learn, and I want him to graduate. I wouldn't be working in the school system if I thought there was a different avenue to help kids.
I know.
No. I saw that and I texted Jen. I'm like, how do I be her when I grow up? Like, what is going on? She is an incredible human.
Don't put me on that high of a pedestal.
You are. You definitely are.
Well, I watched it 9,000 times because I know it in action, and that video just captured just the pure essence of who she is. And I was like, I will not cry on live Monday Motivation. I'm not crying. And so I just want to we wanted to show that video because just for a little piece of knowing Brandy, but I have gotten to know Brandy a lot over the last 18 months. I have been able to present many times to North Platte Public Schools for self-care for educators. And upcoming this fall, we're going to go and talk about trauma-informed care. And one of the times I was out there in the fall, what was that, Brandy, fall 2019?
Yeah, 2019.
I Love Public Schools came out and filmed me presenting and Brandy and I interviewing her educators and following Brandy around. And in between filming, she was getting 8,000 text messages, 489 phone calls. She was over here answering this. She ordered us lunch. Just right. And then I was so exhausted and she's so just full of energy. I was like, all right, well, I love this. Can't wait to see you next time. She said, Jen, wait. I want to show you something. I made you something. I wanted you to know how much we appreciated you coming out here and how much you have helped our teams. So you guys, this in the midst of everything is what she gave to me. She painted this. She has like.
You did not.
Yes.
Well, not all me. Not all me. I have an amazing friend, Kay Moni, who we collab on those things. So where I have a skill in one area, she has an amazing skill in another, and we do things together. We build on each other's strengths, but yes.
But still how comfortable, right? Just, hey, here's your sign, Jen, that I made for you, like during a break that I don't have.
And add it to my list of incredible talents.
Well, definitely again, it's a partnership with a good friend. It's our therapy. We call it wine and signs. So we drink some wine and we make some signs.
Love it.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. Well, Brandy has a quote that she's going to share with us, and so we're going to get to that here as our quote of the week. So, Brandy, I don't know if we need any setup, but go ahead and I guess we can share the quote here. Ready?
Okay, so I'll read this quote. Don't look away when you see broken pieces of humanity, broken systems, broken ways of doing things. Don't look away. Don't sit out saying there's nothing I can do. Like anything, change happens when we decide to show up and say something. So that quote got to me, I think, as you watched the film, and definitely when I was thinking of quotes within the last week or so, it really just spoke to me about, and I think just speaking up when we see atrocity or when we see things that aren't working. And I think in education, we see that a lot, where there's systems that just aren't quite working. And I think the worst thing we can do is throw our hands up and say, well, there's really nothing I can do about that. Because my good friend Jen McNally taught me, with conflict comes growth and change. So sometimes there's some conflict, but if you address it and you face it, then you really do grow. And we've seen change happen from addressing some of those broken systems.
Yeah, Jen, how does that kind of hit your brain, that quote? Oh, I'm choking.
I know, it's like my heart's beating a little bit fast because it just like speaks right to me. And clearly the work that I've seen you do is exactly what you do, right? And the part in there that I thought to show up, it's like, that's sort of my vehicle for my why, is like, you just show up, right? You don't need to always be 100% prepared. You're not always going to know the answers, but show up, which is what obviously we see you doing in that film. But I think that's such a simple way and great way to live and impact change and lives, right? You just show up.
Absolutely. And I think say something. I mean, that's something that I've struggled with. And as I mentioned before we started, last week was a really tough week because there was moments where we just really had to speak out about things. And as you all know, when you do that, sometimes people aren't happy with it. And sometimes people aren't happy being challenged. But with the systems that are in place, sometimes they're not working. And you absolutely have to either problem solve through it or confront the fact that the system's not working, and especially when it involves kids. When kids' safety is at risk or their well-being's at risk, it's all of our jobs to basically say, this isn't working, guys. What do we need to do differently? How can we change it? And I hope the film is an avenue for that change. And as people watch it, I hope they watch it and say, what do we need to do to fix this? How can we change this?
One thing that I love so much when I think about Brandy also, and all the things I've told you, is something that resonates with me with hers. She does and says what's right, even if it may not be popular, even if she might have to rock the boat, even if she might have to have people step out of their comfort zone, which we know that's where growth comes. That's where we learn a lot about ourselves and other things. And I've always been so impressed by you, Brandy, by you always lead with that. You always are honest. You always do what's right. You always look for things to help other people. And that is why, I just have this heavy just admiration for you every time I get to see you. And it just is so incredible that everybody watching today is getting that sense of just the power of your work and how many impacts you are making and meaningful coincidences. And it's incredible.
Well, thank you. And I think I would be amiss not to mention Officer Johnson, who's also in the film, who Jen got to meet when she came out. But another representation of someone who's not afraid to go above and beyond, not afraid of having those really tough conversations that I think sometimes we shy away from because it's uncomfortable and it causes conflict. But having him be alongside me when I go to homes or when I'm meeting with families and having that support, it just means everything. And I know that sometimes school resource officers get a bad rap, but out here in North Platte, our school resource officer is 110% for kids. And he'll jump in anytime, and it's all about keeping kids safe and helping. He's not about being punitive or anything like that. It's just 100% how can we help this kid?
Well, I have a story about Officer Johnson that time that I was out there, one of those times, he brought his, he brought a girl to school, and the girl, as she was passing, I was like, oh, it's so good to have you here. She's like, I would not be here unless Officer Johnson came. He's the only person that I trust enough to come to my house and help me get to school. And she was a kid that had extenuating circumstances of trauma, lots of things going on in the home. And he had built that relationship with her to where he would go get her to come to school. And she wouldn't go. You even said she will not show up for anyone unless, when she's in crisis, unless it's Officer Johnson. So I think you're right. And it was a great experience meeting him.
Yeah. And anytime you walk by his office, there's a kid in there talking. And it's not because he called them down. It's because they sought him out. And you'll see that in the film, that the students in crisis, in one of the stories, they sought him out. They saw him as someone who's here to help. He can change the situation, and intentionally went and spoke with him. So I think that's a very cool thing for a school officer to be, is more of a guidance for kids and a resource, rather than someone they see as, oh, don't talk to him, you're going to get in trouble, or, ooh, you're in trouble if you're in Officer Johnson's office. That's really not the vibe at North Platte High School. So we're blessed.
It's so powerful, like changing that stigma, I guess, like you're saying there, that there can be that perception. The fact that it's the exact opposite is just tremendous. And real briefly, and then we can get to the leaning in. That quote, and I think it kind of falls in line with what everyone else is saying. I think about my time I spent with my own kiddos, and not to get too personal with this, I guess, but we pray like on a regular basis and on our way to school. And one of the things that we say is, I would hope to be blessed with the opportunity to make a change, with the wisdom to know the right thing to do in those opportunities, and the courage to follow through with that. And like I hear that in what y'all are saying, and I guess I bring it up for that reason. And that I do think that it takes all of those parts for that to happen. And that quote spoke to me on that level. And I thought about my kiddos and how hard it can be to do that consistently. And Brandy, I'm so grateful to have you in education, right? That you have so many people that are saying like, this is what she lives out. And to start us all off on that note, I mean, just really touches my heart, to be quite honest with you. And you got a lot of great love and feedback coming in online here too from folks.
There's Vicki. Shout out Vicki. She's amazing too at North Platte Public Schools. Does amazing work.
Vicki is awesome.
So great. So great. Well, let's get to the leaning in here then for the week, where we're going to think a little bit about what we might do to kind of extend this for the rest of the week.
So I'll start us out. I said at the beginning, I'm like, I have no idea what my leaning is this week, really. I just feel like, sometimes on those Mondays for all of us, we just have lots of things going on in our hearts and minds. And I thought I'll know what I'm leaning into just by being around all of you. I'll have like a good indicator. And I really think my leaning in this week is going to be making more purposeful attempts. Like I have tons of meetings, and all of us with those meetings, I would much rather be with kids. I'd much rather be with the educators, and I have lots of Zooms. And sometimes I think that we can all get kind of like womp womp when we get zoomed out after a while. But I also think that there are opportunities that I can be more present for in those Zooms, that I'm going to look to see what can I gain of knowledge and understanding, and hear things that people are really passionate about, even if it's the same Zoom that I've had 5 times in a row. And I think that's what teachers do every day, right? They think of ways that are creative for kids to continue to feel engaged if they're at home doing remote learning. And so that's where I'm leaning in. I'm leaning into, no matter how many Zooms I have this week, what am I learning for myself that can make me a better person? So when I go back and do my joy and my love, I'm there. I'm ready to go and can add to that. Anybody else zoomed out, or is it just me?
Definitely zoomed out. Yeah.
Brandy, Jamie, what are you guys leaning in for this week?
I think for me, last week was, I realized it was a short week with the snow, but it felt really long. It felt really intense and really stressful. And I think in those moments, we lose sight of our support system, and because we kind of get wrapped up in our own mind and our own things that are going on. So for me, it's leaning into my relationships with my colleagues and my coworkers, and taking a little extra time to maybe listen rather than speak, and not maybe throw up my problems all over them like I do sometimes. So just take a few minutes to listen and be present, because I think when we get busy, that just sometimes doesn't happen. And sometimes I'll get home and I'm like, wait a second, I think someone said this and I just glazed right past it, and it was actually something that I needed to respond to. So being more present, for sure.
I am right there with you, Brandy. It was a short week, but a hard week. And then I feel like sometimes my go-to is I just get solution focused. So I'm like, okay, I got to do this. And so my leaning in is going to be holding space, which is similar to what I think all of us are saying, in a way of holding space to make sure that I'm seeing people, like just taking that extra 10 seconds even, and whether that's for other people to make sure that they feel seen and heard, or whether that's to pause for myself, because I'm not always great about that, even though I try to be intentional. It's like holding some extra space. That's what I'm leaning into, to make sure people are seen and that I acknowledge myself and what I need for that. So I think we have a pattern going on here.
Yeah.
Andrew, are you going to do something different? Pressure's on.
Oh, I mean, everything from kind of keeping things in balance to, I'm excited this week because I'm going to have an opportunity to present a number of times where it doesn't always happen. And so in my Zooms, I really want to advocate for and lean into what we can try to do in the classrooms, maybe to continue to bring some good vibes and positive culture. My daughter and I were sitting talking last night, and she was really down about school and couldn't really figure out necessarily what it was. She's in 4th grade. So, I mean, she's been in school long enough to have had better vibes about it. And we sort of arrived at the conclusion that just even when you're there and wearing masks, you just don't get the same joy. You don't see the spark that comes across a kiddo's face when something resonates with them, or they learn for the first time, or somebody cracks a joke and you look around at masks. and I think there's just a subtle edge there that, it's tough. And I think that over time, maybe it weighs on you. And that was our conversation. And so I'm going to really try in those sessions to advocate for things that maybe will help bring a little laughter, the sound of it, if nothing else, back, and be intentional about trying to do things that address that. So that's what I'll hopefully lean into this week.
Great.
This is great coffee talk. I love the coffee talk that we're having this morning. Just such a great way to set some intentions, like we said last time. Jamie, yep, I'll have them.
Cheers. Yeah, we should do it.
So, I mean, thank you so much, Brandy. Everybody watch that 3rd film coming out next week, right, Brandy? Is when it's on the 11th? Is that when?
Yes. Yep. It comes out on the 11th. And yeah, I was able to watch it just this weekend with my immediate family. And, it's hard watching yourself on film. You notice every little thing you do and all your nuances. And, but yeah, I hope people connect. I hope that it's not just about North Platte. It's about all the schools across the United States and the struggles they're dealing with. And as I've said before, society's problems land at our doorstep, and we're constantly tackling them. So I hope people watch it and go, yes, okay, I'm not alone. This happens to me too. Yes, I hope that's the response. So we'll see.
And that communities realize how much wraparound's going on, right? Day in, day out, wrapping around students, staff, community. Are we supposed to bring our Kleenexes, I'm assuming?
There's some moments. Yeah, it's tough content. It's not an easy thing to watch, but it's hard, but at the end, I hope it sparks people to make some changes. And I hope it sparks communities to see they need to support their schools. 100%.
And again, Andrew, with our guests, we have, like I said with Dr. Phipps, just another mini TED Talk. Thank you for coming, Jamie and Brandy, to inspire and motivate and encourage us this week, and every interaction you have with everybody and inspiring them. So couldn't be more excited. 2 weeks from now, right, Andrew? We have another guest. Are we still? Yeah,
every 2 weeks. There'll be one. There'll be another one. We'll keep going all the way through the rest of the semester.
So with that, everybody, thank you for joining in. See you next time. Have a wonderful week. And we're thankful that you were able to spend some time with us this morning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brandy. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.